In today's video, I'm going to tell you how the Fujifilm X-T5 saved my butt at a really important portrait shoot. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, I am a portrait photographer. I'm based in New York, and if you like what you hear, hit that like button and subscribe. So here's what happened. I was tasked to photograph the maestro, Ron Carter, who is a living legend jazz bass player at Jazz at Lincoln Center for a very special performance. And so I spoke with his team, and I have worked with them before, and so I have a good relationship with them. They trust me. They know that I'm going to do a good job. And they asked me to come take some portraits of him after he performed. And I was, of course, I said, yes, I would love to. However, I was very busy at my studio that day, and my studio is located just outside of Queens on Long Island, so I'm not in Manhattan. So I would have to commute. And they told me he's going on at 6:30. Something changed with the time between the morning and the afternoon of that day, and it wound up that then they texted me and said, oh, I'm sorry, he's actually going on at 5:30. And so I responded, I said, I'm sorry, I probably won't make it there in time to see him. And they told me, his team told me, no worries, we have a press pass for you. If you still want to go and photograph the concert, have fun, have at it. And so I figured, all right, I'm definitely going to do that. And I thanked them, and that was that. I figured I would meet up with them at the next one. Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, I took all my batteries out of my camera, and I decided I don't need lighting equipment. I don't need a flash. I didn't even bring a hot shoe flash. I'm like, I don't need any light. I'm just taking concert photos with natural light. And then I took all the batteries out of my Fuji cameras and started charging them right here on this very desk, because I figured I'm just going to take my X-T5 and a couple of lenses. I'll travel light. And then I had also an X-H2S, which I had on loan from B&H to test for some content. And I figured I'll take that too. So, and the batteries will come into play later. Anyway, so I get in my car to leave. I have my camera, I have one little bag. It's going to be an easy night. I'm not stressing at all. I'm like not stressing at all. And this was this very same day that New York City passed congestion pricing. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a horrible thing. That means that if you go into Manhattan at a certain time, they just charge you an extra fee just for being in there on a certain street at a certain time. They call it congestion pricing. Okay, whatever. I didn't realize that was the first day it was happening. And so I start driving in, and I'm thinking I'm leaving at like 4:30. I'm like, I'm not going to get there until like 7:30. I mean, it's 19 miles probably from my studio to Columbus Circle. Yet with traffic in New York, it could easily be 2.5 to 3 hours. So I'm driving in. I'm like, what? There's no traffic. What's going on? So literally I got there in 1 hour. I parked my car. I get out. And now I'm there at 5:30. So I go in the hall, and I see Mr. Carter's publicist, a wonderful woman. I love this lady very much. And she's like, Pete, you made it. We're so happy. We're going to set the maestro up for these portraits after he performs and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, crap. I didn't bring any of my lighting gear. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, my goodness, what am I going to do? And so it was one of those situations where you realize that being a professional photographer or professional anything, you just have to do what you need to do, and people are not going to take excuses. Because I could have said to her, I'm sorry, but I just brought, like a little camera with a lens. I didn't bring my light and blah, blah, blah. People don't want to hear that. You show up with a camera, and they expect you to do the job. Anyway, I digress on that rant. So I set up, and I'm like, okay, I'll take pictures of him playing, and then I'll take pictures of him after. And I had to really take a minute to reset my mindset, because now I'm freaking out, right? Which probably any of us would do, because I don't feel like I have what I need to do the job they want me to do. And one thing I've learned over the years is, besides just you got to do what you got to do, is the power of shifting your mindset. So I'm sitting there in this hall filled with people and some of the greatest, most well-known jazz musicians all over the place. And I say to myself, you know what? I'm going to get this done. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so now I'm feeling good. Until I open my bag, I take out the X-H2S, I turn it on, and nothing happens. And so I turn it over, and now my heart stops, because I flip open the battery cover, and then I realize, oh my goodness, I left all my batteries at the studio. Oh my goodness, I have no batteries. And so And this is like the most amateur move you can make. I was like, this was an amateur hour for me. Now, the reason why partially I did that, I left it, is because I was using a bag I don't usually use. And the bag I usually use has everything in there, you know, placed. Like, so it's all there. It's my travel bag. Even the batteries that are here, I don't worry about because it's all there. So then I'm like, Lord, I'm literally praying, God help me. And so I'm like, I remember that I charged one battery. I'm pretty sure I stuck in the X-T5, and I'm like, God, please help me. Please help me. Thank God there's a battery in there. And then I turned the camera on. I'm like, it's fully charged. So now I'm tasked with taking concert photos for, luckily he performed maybe for like 20 minutes. It wasn't a long concert. And then I got to take portraits all on one battery. So now I'm like freaking out. So again, I shift my mindset. I try to settle myself. And so I take some portraits I take some concert photos of him playing. And I do that. And then he finishes, he comes off the stage, and his publicist is like, oh, meet us back behind stage. I'm totally freaking out. But I'm also like, okay, I got to get the job done, and whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do. It's going to be what it is. So we go into the lobby, which is like a second level lobby of this particular hall. And when I tell you it's the worst lighting ever, I can't even tell you how bad the lighting was, because it was tiny, like this size LED lights all in the ceiling, like making the most horrible, harsh light. So I start taking a few pictures of him, natural light, and thankfully I had the 50 millimeter, so I have it wide open. I'm trying not to use a high ISO because I don't want a lot of noise. I'm taking some pictures, and they just look horrible because it's like shooting in the midday sun. It's raccoon eyes. It's all that horrible stuff. But then I reframe myself again. I say, you know what, Pete, you got this. You're going to do it, okay? Don't freak out. Just do it. And so he had, the maestro had on the coolest pinstripe suit and a cool hat. And what I realized is, because what I'll usually do is I'll have my clients look towards the light source because it creates a nice shape of light on their face. However, if it's a really tiny LED, harsh, horrible light, it just looks horrible. So I couldn't do that. So he had on a cool hat with a brim. And what I realized is if I had him tilt his head down a little bit, then the brim of his hat became a flagged the horrible lights from his eyes, and I got a really beautiful portrait. So now I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little good. But then this lighting still wasn't great. So his both I and his publicist recommended, well, why don't we go in the dressing room? Okay, so I'm like, anything's better than this light. Let's try it out. So we go in the dressing room, and I was reminded of that famous photography quote, like, portrait photography is like, 90% moving furniture or whatever it is. Because we go in this room, there's stuff everywhere. There's this long table with all of these lights, and but there's crap everywhere and chairs everywhere. So now I have a vision, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have natural light. I can't use the 50 millimeter in here because it's the 75 millimeter equivalent is too shallow for what I need. I need wider. Shallow, whatever. It's just not wide enough. So I'm like, I need to use the 16 to 55, which is a great lens. I love it. But now I really have to bump up the ISO. So I'm moving all this furniture and getting it out of the way. And I have this vision to place the maestro kind of like leaning, not sitting, but leaning against this row of this countertop, kind of just looking cool in his suit. And that's exactly what I did. And when I tell you, so I had him placed there, and then his publicist was out of the room, but I was kind of like joking with her because I could see her at one point in the mirrors because there's mirrors everywhere. And so I told her, I can see you. I made some kind of joke. He looked at her. They laughed. He made this natural, beautiful expression. I clicked the shutter, and I got what I think is one of the best photos I've ever taken. Natural light, out of my element, like without any of the things that I wanted to have with me. And I was so happy with the photo I got. So anyway, that's what happened. And then once he felt comfortable and we felt warmed up, then I got some other cool portraits of him. And it turned out to be such an awesome night. And so it reminded me of a couple things. Number one, I don't care what anybody says. This tiny little camera is freaking awesome. I absolutely love it. it's saved me. It's done the job for me so many times. And I have the latest firmware, and I had no trouble with autofocus. So that's number one. Number two, if you're a professional photographer or an aspiring professional, like, and you go on a location, you're most likely going to encounter variables that you're not prepared for, and you just have to do the job. And I was reminded that, like, even though I didn't have my full frame Canon gear and lights and soft boxes or whatever I may have wanted to have, I was tasked to get the job done, and they were thrilled. And so it was like, I was so happy by the end of the day. And I'm not saying this to be like, look how great I am, but just like, it was like really reaffirming to just get the job done and feel good about doing it. And so if you are a professional, or if you're someone who wants to take your love for photography to the next level, you just got to do it. Just go out and do it. Like, I'm telling you, like, you're never going to feel ready. And there's going to be so many times where you feel like I'm not prepared properly. But if you have that passion and that eye and that love for it, you'll get it done. So anyway, that's my story for you. I posted a long time ago. A lot of you asked me to do this video, and I figured let me just do it because I just need to get it out there. And I haven't done a video in a while, so I feel rusty, so I'm just doing it off the cuff. So if I'm rambling, I apologize, and I'm sure one of you will tell me I'm rambling. But I just wanted to put something down for you. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. Please subscribe to the channel. If you like what I'm doing, I would love if you subscribe and let me know, because it is a labor of love. I mean, the YouTube channel is not my thing that I do to make a living. It's something I do on the side because I enjoy doing it. I love connecting with all of you. So that's it for today. Here's wishing you a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Have a great life and go out and take some awesome pictures. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.